I want to start by saying this case is one of the most disturbing I have ever covered, not because of a monster hiding in the shadows, but because of how complicated the truth really is. In October 2024, a woman flew from Portsmouth, England, to the state of Florida. She missed her flight home. Within days, her remains were found in a rural area called Marion Oaks. Her name was Sonia Exelby, and what investigators uncovered on her computer would make this case unlike almost anything I have come across. This is Dark Reflex. Tonight, we go inside one of the strangest and most painful cases to come out of Florida in recent memory. Sonia Exelby was from Portsmouth, a port city on the southern coast of England. By all outward appearances, she was an ordinary woman making an international trip. She booked a flight to Florida. She cleared customs. She arrived in the United States as thousands of tourists do every single day. But the circumstances of her trip were anything but ordinary. According to investigators, writings found on her personal computer indicated that Sonia was in a deeply troubled state of mind before she ever boarded that plane. Those writings described suicidal ideation. They described a desire to travel to the United States specifically to be harmed. The language in those documents, as later quoted in an arrest affidavit, is clinical and disturbing. Investigators in the UK also found what appeared to be a letter she had written anticipating severe physical harm. She had connected, allegedly, with various individuals in the United States through online platforms before she even left home. She was not a woman who wandered into danger by accident. According to the evidence, she had been planning this for some time. That context does not make what happened to her less of a crime. It makes it more complicated and more tragic. On October 13th, 2024, authorities in Florida received a report. Sonia Exelby had missed her return flight to the United Kingdom. Whoever reported it, the details of that are not public, set into motion what would become a multi-agency investigation involving the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Marion County sits in the north-central part of Florida, inland, mostly rural. Marion Oaks is a quiet residential community within it. Flat land, pine trees, long straight roads, not the kind of place that makes national headlines. Investigators moved quickly. Within days of that missed flight report, Sonia's remains were located in Marion Oaks. The manner of death was ruled an apparent homicide. She was identified. And now the question became, who was the last person to see her alive? And what exactly happened in those final hours? The break in the investigation came through something mundane and traceable: money. Starting on October 11th, 2 days before the missed flight report was even filed, an account had allegedly attempted to make multiple transfers from Sonia Exelby's bank account. Investigators traced that account to a man named Dwain Hall, 53 years old, residing in Florida. On October 17th, just 4 days after the initial report, Hall agreed to speak with law enforcement voluntarily. What followed, according to the arrest affidavit, was a series of shifting, inconsistent accounts. At first, Hall said he did not know Sonia Exelby. He had never met her. He had no connection to her. Then, as investigators pressed him, the story changed. He admitted they had met. He admitted they had been intimate. He admitted they had discussed, in his own words, her interest in bondage, her suicidal thoughts, and her desire to have someone end her life. He went from complete denial to those admissions in a single interview. What Hall said next is something I have read multiple times, and I still find it difficult to process. When asked what he would have done if he needed to help Sonia carry out what she wanted, He told investigators he would have taken her to Alligator Alley. For anyone outside of Florida, Alligator Alley is a long stretch of highway cutting through the Everglades. Remote, swampy, known for exactly what the name implies. He said the wildlife there would have taken care of her. When investigators asked him directly whether he had killed Sonia Exelby, Hall declined to answer. But then he said something that investigators included verbatim in the affidavit. He said, "She's happy now because she got what she wanted." That sentence is the center of this entire case, and it raises questions that are genuinely hard to answer. Dwain Hall was arrested on November 17th, 2024, not immediately for murder. The charges at the time of his arrest were fraudulent use of a credit card and unlawful use of a two-way communication device, tied to the alleged attempts to access Sonia's bank account. He was already behind bars on those charges when FDLE made the arrest official. The investigation into the homicide itself was ongoing. Now here's what makes this case so difficult to talk about without getting it wrong. Sonia's own writings described what she wanted. She sought it out. She crossed an ocean. That is documented. But a person's state of mind, no matter how distressed, no matter what they wrote down, does not give another person legal or moral permission to harm them. It does not make that person less of a victim. The law in Florida does not recognize consent to be murdered. And whatever Sonia was going through internally, she was a real woman. She had a name. She came from Portsmouth. And she is gone. This case sits at the intersection of grief, mental illness, and predation in a way that most true crime stories do not. Sonia Exelby was clearly suffering. Whatever drove her to make the choices she made, those choices came from a place of immense pain. And somewhere online, allegedly, a man found her in that pain and became part of the story of how she died. The investigation was still active at the time of this recording. Hall has not been charged with murder as of this video. That may change. I will update this case when it does. If anything from this story is sitting with you tonight, please talk to someone. You don't have to sit with it alone. I still carry these experiences with me today. Stay in the dark with me.